Hello everyone. So this one is again on one of the hottest days of the year in the UK. Um, so there will be sounds in the background that you might not like. I can't control them. I can't edit them all out. I am not some editing wizard. I'm a person with a webcam. That being said, let's get on to Magic the Gathering. So Magic the Gathering for me came into my life when Yu-Gi-Oh was sort of on a bit of a hiatus. And people were playing Yu-Gi-Oh, and that was quite exciting. But as I mentioned in a video way back, um, like about last month or something like that, Yu-Gi-Oh was a different game than the one that I'd grew up with, and very quickly becoming something I didn't recognize as the game that I loved. So when Magic the Gathering came into my life, I think it was the sets that we were playing with at least were 2011 or 2012. Uh, they were incredible. And we were seeing a lot of very basic monsters, basic minions, creatures, whatever they call. And seeing the synergy between a lot of these high attacking creatures, uh, some magics and spells and things like that, and how effective they were, and mechanics like reach was really good for me as a mono green player at the time. Still pretty much a mono green player, but I do delve a little bit into green black, whichever on the color wheel that is. I um I was really enjoying it, and I think, to be honest, I had a really good experience starting out, and I think some of my friends latched onto it. Some of my friends just absolutely didn't. Some of them were like kind of like, it's all right. It's not Yu-Gi-Oh, though, is it? But I enjoyed it, and to tell you the truth, it would take me a little bit of getting used to the rules now, but thematically and actually enjoying the game, I would probably be able to play, like, sit down and play a game of Magic now. So as time goes on, our little group kind of goes on and does their own thing, and they all sort of deviate. My friend and I continue to play Magic. Weirdly enough, the friend that I'm playing Sorcery with right now, we continue to play Magic. I'm not sure if he played Magic before then, or if that was his introduction. I don't know. But we continue to play Magic for quite a while. He plays Mono Blue, and this was in college. Yeah. So we were the weirdos in the school. Well, anywhere we could get really. If we had a long period of time between lessons, we would occasionally go to the library and play Magic, and get all of the looks from all of the people. Like, oh my god, why are these guys playing this stupid card game instead of doing what students do? It's like, whatever. But that was how much I enjoyed it, and I talked about this experience uh, in the story. I think it's my first LGS turned bad real quick or something like that. Um, I'm going to be repeating that story because it is relevant here. So I went to my first tournament, and the tournament was it was like after like a couple of sort of sets that I played. I bought some booster packs, and every now and then I used to play with friends, and I didn't really engage with my LGS very much because even back then there was a reputation that this place had for kind of holstering and supporting the worst players that you could imagine, and um, including the store owner who was getting high on her own supply, so to speak, was using company funds to buy booster boxes, creating a bulk box that she'd suspiciously take cards from and use them, and she would make decks and beat the customers with these cards because she wanted the prize cards. Yes, she, the owner of the store, wanted the prize cards, but she knew she couldn't steal them, so she stole them or won them, shall we say? And that there was an experience where my friend was playing against her Sarah Angel deck. Now, Sarah Angel's like a really classic MTG card, and she was summoning a crap ton of Sarah Angels, and he was beating them back, like effectively beating them back. He'd not played much Magic at the time, and the judge was coming around and saying, you've got to call it off, like you've got to stop. Um, the game is going on too long. Other people are waiting. They get impatient. Some people have got jobs to go back to and things like that. Like Magic's an in-between activity for a lot of people, and she was just sort of like, "No, I own the store. I own the store. Like it'll go on as long as I say," kind of thing. And obviously, that's not good. It's a bad attitude to have towards anything. But in general, she was just not acting like properly, and was just sort of being real kind of mean spirited about it. And I wasn't bothered. I played some Magic, some Yu-Gi-Oh. I played mostly, I think, Mono Green. And I did dabble a little bit into Goblins. I actually really liked Goblins. I liked the Goblin play style. One specific card, Gutter Snipe. I was a big fan of Gutter Snipe. Can't remember what it does now, but I played a lot of Gutter Snipe because it's like burned into my memory. You know, like when you leave a computer on too long and on one image and it's like frozen into the screen. Yeah, that's what Gutter Snipe is in my brain. So I from there went from sort of like the more modern style MTG into Theros. And Theros was like brand spanking new at the time. It had just come out. And it hurts. It hurts to see that it is now considered semi-vintage. To some people it's vintage, to some people it's it's still it's still new. Like fine. Say whatever you want about it. But it's considered old. It's out of rotation by far. It's in its own pool of cards, shall we say. And that kind of hurts because I was there when it came out. I mean, there's a bunch of Yu-Gi-Oh sets where that's true as well, but the Magic one hurts specifically because I'm like, I remember when we were doing the draft, like the first draft, and opening the booster packs, getting our tokens ready, getting our deck ready, getting our lands from the land pool, and assembling the decks. Like I remember all of it like quite vividly. I remember being absolutely trounced because again, this local game store did not have the rule of no trading in place, and it ruined multiple tournaments. Like no trading before the event is finished. So people were just going, well, I'll buy your gods outright because I know what the estimated value is. And they're like, oh yeah, sure. So then you face a guy who's got like 4 gods and you're playing like 1/1s or something. Like just really bad, like really bad management with that players. And of course I got trounced, but I kept my god for many years. I can't remember which one it was. I think it was actually was it black white or something like that. I'll see if I can find it. Looking through the list, I'm not sure whether it was Ifera or whether it was Urboros. I'm not sure. I really can't remember. It's like yonks and yonks ago. But I kept them for like ages, and I really enjoyed them. I loved playing with them, and as started to become a thing after that set was released, the production scale, the production run uh, of Magic accelerated massively. Like to the point where you're kind of wondering, like, how am I supposed to keep up with this? Like, this is a bit of a tangent from the story, but I used to go to these events with a little bit of money, like 10, 15 pounds or something like that. That would cover food, that would cover any cards I wanted to buy, that would cover any events that I wanted to go and get. I was a college student, so I had a little bit of my own money. And I would wander in and buy whatever I could afford to build some decks. And then I would just sort of play with the cards that I had. Uh, so the prices of the decks and packs and everything like that were relatively reasonable. I could usually get a new deck. Commander wasn't even a thing. It wasn't even mentioned at that time. Maybe by like somebody at the back table or something. But we were all playing modern and we were all playing standard. We were all playing the same game effectively. And if a card was out of rotation, we'd say, okay, well, do you want to play standard instead? Or do you want to play modern instead, rather? Like, it was no problem. And if something was older, like if it was like so old it belonged in a cube or something like that, like really old vintage cards, it would be like treat with like some kind of feeling of like, you know, not like jealousy, but like, oh my god, wow, you got this amazing thing. And again, like I say, that place still did have its scumbags and everything like that, but it also had its people who were genuinely passionate about the game and loved the game and loved to see old cards and loved to see new decks. And that was what me and most of my friends who played Magic were like. My other friend did not like Magic very much because he didn't like the fact that you couldn't cheat very easily. Which, yes, compared to Yu-Gi-Oh, where it's got 10,000 mechanics and, you know, none of them are named and none of them are keyworded, really. Like, it's an absolute Wild West compared to Magic. Everything is keyworded and kind of put onto a, like, you can read what the cards do on the card itself most of the time, especially with some of the beginner stuff, like the beginner friendly products. And Um, he hated that. He hated the fact that he couldn't cheat, uh, which says more about how he played Yu-Gi-Oh. But yeah, so whenever you play Magic, at least like in my locals, there's like a bit of a reputation about you. They're like, oh yeah, he's a Magic player. It's like, oh, he's a Yu-Gi-Oh player. It's like, why why are we judging people on what they're playing? Like everybody can get along. It's fine. A Magic player doesn't take any more space or oxygen than a Yu-Gi-Oh player. So, um, yeah, Magic for me, at least in the early years, was sort of really good and really enjoyable and a brilliant break, mechanically clean, sort of stripped down alternative universe version of Yu-Gi-Oh, a universe where they weren't just trying to sell you the latest thing. That aged like fucking milk. So as time went on, we played other games as well. We didn't play as much Magic. We played some Yu-Gi-Oh, some Pokemon, and Magic kind of was always there. We went to another locals, and this locals was new, and they had a big Magic scene. And I had my, oh, I can't remember which deck it was. It might have been a green black deck. I had some kind of deck. This was about 2021 now, so a significant time skip. We were on and off play Magic at that time. There was a community in that sort of like as things started to set up in that little group. People were fine at first, and then the place started to develop a sort of reputation. And then when it did, there was the people who played upstairs, which was us, and the people who played downstairs, them. And I don't know why. I don't know why this sort of developed, but they did nothing to squash it. And again, this is why I suggest if you are going to start an LGS, watch my "So You Want to Start an LGS" video, because I will give you some customer perspectives and some perspectives as a person who's tried and failed and tried and failed and tried and failed over and over again to start some kind of business. Um, Failure is the most important teacher. Success is you kind of rebrand it as, oh, well, I succeeded. It's success teaches you almost nothing. Failure teaches you a lot more, I think. And um, but as a customer perspective, that video is very valuable as well. So anyway, this company had a real nasty culture about it, and they started to stare at us like there's nothing wrong with it. I looked how I look now, you know, man face with a dad bod. Like my friend is just he looks like a person. Like he just looks like a person. There's no like he didn't have a green head. He didn't have a shoulder jutting out here or something. I don't know. Like he wasn't Quasimodo. Like we were both hygienic guys. Both used to walk into the place, and we used to get stares, like people staring at us, and like we were just sort of like, "That's why." And then one time, uh, one of them snuck up to us, and we're like, "Oh, hi. How can we help you? Like, are you all right?" And I think they said something like, "Why are you here?" And we said, "Oh, we're here to play some Magic, or we're here to play something like that." And this place was selling itself as a Magic place, and they just the atmosphere was just off. Well, as it turns out, in the story that I'll talk about in the future, it wasn't a good place to go anyway. So uh, that's when Magic sort of was off for me for quite a while. When I came back into Magic in probably 2022, I built an Elven deck. Elves and 2023, something like that. Um, I built an Elven deck, and the Elf deck was uh, mostly 1/1s who assisted in summoning these big, massive, like Trents. Still not sure how to pronounce that. Uh, they are like tree people, a bit like Treebeard from Lord of the Rings, and I enjoyed it. We played like at our sort of usual locals, and like the one that I still play at now, pretty much once a month, and it was a fun deck, fun experience, and literally nothing wrong. But I think the point that I'm trying to get at here was that the previous kind of instance, the previous situation that we dealt with, where we were being like treated quite unfairly. I don't know why. We didn't take anything from the start. We weren't mean to anybody. We weren't ignoring anybody. We weren't doing anything wrong. Uh, the experience that we had kind of soured my love of Magic for a bit. Not for long, just for a little bit, and maybe kind of not want to play so much. And like I said, your reputation, like the reputation of your company, where your people are allowed to treat um, your customers, like staff and other customers as well, the kind of the culture that you build is the most important thing in the world. And I can go on and on and on about that all day. But at the end of the day, it did put me off Magic a bit. I was like, wow, the reputation that everybody has been spouting has been correct. Magic players are assholes. Of course, that's not true. I've seen plenty of Magic players who aren't, and I've seen many who are. Magic players are just people. And do I play Magic now? Well, weirdly enough, I have been intrigued by some of the older sets. None of this current stuff, which we'll get onto that in a minute. I've been quite interested in Phyrexia Evolved. Phyrexia All Will Be One. I think it's called. And possibly building a deck based around that set. Because the cards are cheap. Like, the singles are cheap in that set. For the most part. And it looks fun. Like, the whole theme of the Phyrexians looks really fun. And I'm thinking of actually just, just playing it. Just saying, screw it, why not? And either do that, or if I get suddenly an injection of income, and once I've got my sorcery needs sort of sorted, I will look at possibly getting a Phyrexia box, because it looks fun. Like, the old set looks really fun, and the mechanics are really fun, and the artwork's really fun. Like, Magic is a good set, like a good game. I mean, with lots of good sets, with lots of good things for you to enjoy, lots of thematic things. But that brings us on to the bad, doesn't it? Right now, Magic has a reputation, and that reputation is not good. For some people, it's really good. For some people, they like absolutely are loving everything that Wizards is doing. But for me, coming from where I come from, 2011, 2012, sort of relatively long time ago, but not that long ago, Magic was old when I was coming into it. I am still very much so in love with the old style cards. 1/1 spiders with reach and summoning tokens, and 1/1s for one that you tap for one, like for 1 mana, and all of this kind of stuff. Like, those are like iconic MTG cards to me. And of course they still exist. Like, we got what is it? Is it the Chocobo? Is it Chocobo? That's a pretty, like, there's pretty cheap cards in the Final Fantasy set. And yeah, I'm glad the legacy of the cards exists. My problem is I don't like intellectual property from other things, even the Doctor Who one. And I'm like, it's sort of a big fan of Doctor Who up to a certain point where it just isn't Doctor Who anymore. I'm a big fan of it, but I also know that we can't kid ourselves. It's not the same game, is it? It's not just, you know, it's not just a theme swap. It's not just a reskin. It's a different game. And don't get me wrong, there's some of the stuff from the Universes Beyond, like, cards that really do appeal to me. A handful of the cards from the Spider-Man set appeal to me. A handful of the cards from the Avengers set that's just come out, from the Jumpstart that I've seen, appeal to me. A lot of the cards from the Dalek set really appeal to me, from the Doctor Who Universes Beyond. But none of it jumps out as Magic the Gathering. Of course, they are still producing in-universe sets, but we're getting a top load of like this is how many of the universes beyond we're getting, and this is how many of the actual release sets we're getting. It's ridiculous. They will make a universes beyond set of anything, and the worst part is not all of them are bad. Like if all of them were bad, we could write it off as a failed experiment, and Rudy could bloody store them away for 15 years, and then they become infinitely more wealthy, more valuable rather. But no, they're not bad. They're just a lot of them are very mediocre. And that's worse. That's worse. Mediocrity is always worse than failure. A failure, you can point at it and go, "That's a fail. Don't like that. Hate that." But not even like making the mark in terms of sticking in people's minds. That's really bad. Uh, so Magic the Gathering remains in a shaky position. They make amazing sets like is it Wards of Eldraine, and they've got a huge backlog of sets that are really like if you and your friend were like really good buds and you went, "Oh dude, let's make an only Phyrexia deck. Every card has to be from the Phyrexia set. Make your dream Phyrexia set, for example." Uh, People would do that. People would have that challenge. They would have that fun. And I would do that. Genuinely, I really would. I just think future wise, as with everything, there's too much money, there's too much incentive, there's too much, oh, but you can't leave that money on the table kind of talk, where they'll make cards of anything. And as my friend always defends, he has a contrary point. Uh, he always says, "Yeah, but some of these cards are mechanically really cool." I'm like, that's almost by accident. The people who design the cards and the people who make a list of the cards that need to be made are different. They're doing different jobs, clearly. And it's a bit like the Konami situation, which I do need to talk about Yu-Gi-Oh! A little bit more. The Konami situation is they're really schizophrenic. No offense to, the mentally ill, but they are really like split down the middle. And one day they're this way and one day they're that way. With how overly focused they are on making money. Then they shift focus completely to all of the mechanics. They only care about mechanics. And then they shift back to the other. And people see that and they go, "Oh yeah, it's a balanced company." No, it's not a balanced company. It's not a company that's doing things that companies really should. And of course, I could go back and I could buy Theros packs. And I can go into the backlogs and play all of these cards and pretend it is those golden days, those glorious days of Magic. But it isn't really the same, is it? Because everybody else around you is playing TMNT. So in terms of the playability, in terms of the enjoyability of the game, in terms of the life of the game, in terms of the incentive of people to actually get into the game, it's never been less. And especially with the overprevalence of Commander, this could be like a 45-minute rant in itself. The overprevalence of Commander. Look, I just don't like Commander. It feels so, like, especially after playing Sorcery, it just feels so tight, like, in terms of structure. Everything's like a straight line and you're going forward. Sorcery is the opposite of that. Like, you build a board, you plan things out. Sorcery feels like the card game that Commander should have been. And of course, Commander was a fuckabout. It was a let's make a real, let's make one card be our most powerful card and make some rules from, and then play the rest as Magic, 4v4, 6v6, whatever crap you're into. Like, it was literally a fan mode. And now it's become like so commercialized, it's unbelievable. And it's, the same is happening for formats like Pauper. I've looked at like making uh, Pauper decks before, and there is like sort of semi-official suggestions for what you should have in your Pauper deck, in the form of cards that would be really good if you played them. Uh, you know, like suggestions, like they're putting cards in for Pauper clearly, like into the deck, into the sets, and that's not a bad thing. But it does take away from Pauper, doesn't it? Because Pauper was supposed to be your crap commons turned into a deck that's actually, relatively effective. So, like, again, I appreciate the support, but it's not brilliant, is it? When we've got companies trying to intervene in fan favorite kind of formats. Like if Konami, and I know that they do from time to time in an indirect way, if they intervened in Edison, people would be furious. The only way that Konami interferes with Edison, from my knowledge, again, I've not looked too much into it, is like rulings changes. Like they say, okay, well, if you're going to do a tournament, it has to be under certain ruling, like Master Rule 5 or whatever the hell. Or all of that's fine. It's neither here nor there. But the big thing is Commander just, and all of these other formats that are sort of ancillary to the main format. They are just getting too much focus from the main company. And the relationship becomes a little bit... I'll keep it PG and I'll say it's parasitic. So, like, they're making products for, for Commander. No doubt next they will make products for Pauper. Or they'll make products for Modern. Oh, here is your Modern deck that will stay modern for about a week. I don't like it. It's not a good look. And it is the kind of thing that you, as an old-ish player, person who played, what was that, 18, 19, 20, something like that. That was my first like experience playing MTG. Like, first experience of playing a card game that wasn't Yu-Gi-Oh! A card game that had so much freedom. And you could build your deck however you wanted. You could match the mana however you wanted. At least that was how it felt. Seeing them put so many restrictions and kind of gates on everything, and especially seeing the competitive scene as it is right now, is sort of sad, because it's this deck chases this deck, and this deck chases this deck. Oh, we got this card, so that boosts this card. And a lot of the cards that are currently, over the top in terms of like power level strength or removal power, draw power, all of this kind of thing. They are universes beyond cards, which means we're going to be stuck with the universes beyond stuff long past when these cards are supposedly extinct. So we'll be 15 years down the line, and some little fella will come in bringing his Dalek deck. And you can feel one way or the other about that. But I know how I feel about it. I like Daleks. I like some Doctor Who. I like some of the thematic stuff. I like some of the elements of it. But I just worry, how far can we push this financial machine before it breaks? And the way it breaks isn't going to be a clean stutter, then it shuts down. It will be, I'm not interested in Magic anymore. And then people leave. They just leave. They say, I don't care about it anymore. And then right now, you've got more card games coming out than I can even cover. There's some out there that are really exciting. Gundam's looking more and more interesting by the day. £19 for a starter deck. I've not seen those prices for a while. Like, only beaten by Yu-Gi-Oh! Because Yu-Gi-Oh! Does some truly very cheap reprinted to Oblivion starter decks because they really want to crush that secondary market for some reason. I'm thankful that they do, but makes Yu-Gi boomers happy, I guess. But they want to capitalize on everything. But Gundam, in general, is looking really good, and more people are playing it. Digimon is still around. Sorcery is around. You know, Yu-Gi-Oh is still around. It still exists in one state or another. Uh, we've got lots and lots of other options as well for card games. It's too many to name. There's more every week. There's loads of anime ones that are coming out. The League of Legends one, like Magic, just has to be really careful because they're surviving solely on brand name and brand appeal. And it's so obvious to me that they think that they can do this forever. And as I say, I cast my mind back to little me, younger me, maybe a little bit less chunky me, who was playing Magic, and how happy I felt playing around a table 1v1 with one of my friends, and then we'd swap and we'd play with the other friend, and then we'd swap again and we'd play with another friend, and then we swap decks and have all of this fun. It feels less and less like those opportunities are happening now. It's just, oh yeah, we play Commander. Commander isn't it. Commander just isn't it. It's not the starter entry level game you think it is. It just really, really annoys me as a person who had a really good experience with Magic and then several thousand, not several thousand, maybe 50 experiences and one or two really bad experiences. Like I've had there's other experiences I've talked about on this channel, like the guy who he had his artifact deck and he just didn't take the win, didn't take the fact that I'd beaten him with a sort of thrown together deck very well. That's fine. That's community stuff. It's just annoying because it's like people are supposed to behave in a certain way in an official tournament setting, I guess. That's the perspective I sort of came into it with. I've already talked about that. So overall, do I think Magic is good or bad, or is it a bad set? Like, is it a bad game? No, I don't think it's a bad game. I think it's a really good, accessible game. I just think they're doing a really shit job of like providing products that are actually good for the public, good for the general person, good for people who enjoy playing, in a group of friends. And like I say, Commander is a really, really bad intro. And I don't care what anybody says, they can have their own opinion. But I think it's a really bad intro to Magic the Gathering. It's too many things to think about on top of an already pretty complicated game. Not overly complicated, but it's pretty complicated for a new person who's never played anything in their whole life. So yes, that is it for this one. As I say, I have a long and complicated relationship with Magic the Gathering. Thank you for listening.